6 seconds.
I never thought I'd say this, but I missed a soundboard.
Well, the countdown didn't go all the way to 0, so I was confused.
Oh, wait. That's it. You want to finish it out there?
Number 1.
just kidding.
1, 3, 2, 1,
0.
0. Go, 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 go.
All right, everybody. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Viva Connections SharePoint Framework bi-weekly sync for September 19th, 2024. Wow, wow, wow. All right. So we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. All right, we'll give you a bunch of community project updates on everything under the sun that we're working on. And then we'll take a picture together in the together mode. So, straighten up your hair, wash your face, all that kind of stuff. And then we've got 2 great demos, right? First up, we got Nello and Nicole. They're coming in to talk about personalized apps per user in your intranet using SharePoint Framework. Should be very interesting. All right, and then we've got Marcin, who's going to be talking about accelerating app development, doing some cool stuff with, I don't even know how to say it. I just realized for the first time I've never said Vite. Is it Vite out loud? That's funny.
Vite,
I've read it
Vite.
about a million times. Vite. Okay. With Vite and SPFx, and Marcin will correct how that is said correctly. So, perfect. All right, so let's jump into some updates here. All right, so the first thing, we want to make sure you have access to everything possible. So all you need to do is go to that aka.ms/community/home. Where you come to our fairly brand new website with all sorts of things, right? So we've got blogs, we've got open source repositories, tons and tons of samples. We've got a LinkedIn group, and of course the YouTube as well, where everything gets posted, including this call within 24 hours. Wowee! All right, and then speaking of these calls, we've got these calls all the time. Please join them. It's your opportunity not only to see real-world demos like we're going to see today from real people doing real stuff, not just Microsoft-based demos, right, that work perfectly. And we've got an opportunity. If you join the call live, you can ask questions in the chat. You can also follow up afterwards as needed. But again, we've put these on YouTube as well. So if you don't get a chance to join live, please join afterwards, and you can watch it on 2x speed, and that is even more fun. All right. So moving over here, the next call on September 24th for the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform should be exciting. We've got 3 really cool demos there, so be sure to check that out and join us when you can. All right, and if you want to be one of the people presenting on this call, please fill this out. We would love to have you. Everyone is welcome, for real. So if you've got something cool you put together or something you think will help other people get started, whether that's a pretty basic, here's how you do this, or it's something really, really advanced, or anything in between, we'd love to see it. So just reach out to us. We're happy to walk you through it. If you're nervous about presenting, we're happy to guide you on that. Take a look at your slides, whatever you need. We will coach you through it. We just want to get you involved and get your stuff out there. Okay. And then, David, you want to talk about this?
I do, yeah. And I love the fact that you talked about pretty basic things. And if you have ugly basic things like Hugo and I make, that's okay too, by the way. It doesn't all have to be pretty. We have ugly stuff all the time. I mean, look at our faces. So anyways, yeah, so sharing is caring. Thank you, Chris. So this is a program that provides hands-on guidance for those of you that are unfamiliar with it. What does that mean? It means that we're going to get on a live Teams call together, and we're going to learn how to do stuff together, like submitting samples to GitHub. If you're unfamiliar with GitHub and you don't know what a pull request is, or what is all this fork and blame and raw Babbage stuff meaning that they talk about, I don't know, it's confusing. I'm just making words up now because that's what GitHub does. Well, we're going to decipher it together. It's a safe space. Don't ask questions. Yeah, it's not recorded, so you can ask any and all questions you want, actually, and it will not go on record because we know sometimes we're fearful of asking questions if it's being recorded. So it's a safe space, collaborative. We're going to work together, and guess what? It is a contribution by joining the call. We will work through it together. It's an awesome opportunity. We got one coming up on September 30th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and we hope you can join us on the sample contributor session. Now, once you have contributed and we go to the next slide, we will see that you can get recognized using our community recognition program. So we've got our badges available. They are absolutely free by Credly. We've got the new Prompt Pro and Promptimber. It is Promptimber right now. And Promptober right around the corner, just a week and a half away. So you can get these badges for absolutely free by contributing to the community. So things like you're going to learn in the Sharing is Caring session will empower you to contribute to the community. These are, as I mentioned, absolutely free, and they are accredited. So you can put them on your LinkedIn profile. You can put them on your resume. It shows that you are making a difference and going the extra mile. And I guarantee your clients are going to love it. Your managers are going to love it, and your mom's going to love it. So we appreciate all that you're doing. One way of us giving back. Chris, back to you.
Woo! All right. Sounds good. So let's talk about some of the SharePoint Framework updates. So,
Wowee.
Vesa, what you got?
Wowee. So, wowee. SharePoint Framework 120 release candidate came out last week. We're looking into GAing potentially next week or week after. I just right now, 2 seconds ago, we're chatting about with the engineering teams on getting a few of the critical tooling bugs fixed. Some of you might be familiar with the object issue which we have after the Webpack 5. All of that is planned to get now fixed in 120 before we release that. So that's now we're trying to get the right people on prioritizing that on the right level, so we get that one fixed at the same time. Now, the 120, a quick preview release, kind of things there. The primary focus on Viva Connection, but as said, we're looking into having some of the underlying technical things also fixed and double check and confirm that they're working properly. So not just the Viva Connection stuff, what you can see in these slides, which are actually included in this week's demos. Thank you, Thomas, Ivory, and Anoop on those samples. Let's go to the following slide. Quick recap on where we are with this one. We're looking into doing a bit more long-term roadmap communications pretty soon, because people need to understand that we are 100% super committed on SPFx. It is the most widely used extensibility platform within the Microsoft 365, and there's so much more in the pipeline. We just need to learn how to communicate that properly. Now, 1.19 is currently the latest GA version of things. That's when we move to the Webpack 5 as an example, and 120 is the one which is planning to go live next week or week after, now that we are looking into fixing some of the underlying dev tooling challenges what we run into. This semester, card web parts for SharePoint, so surfacing those cards not only in Viva Connection but also in SharePoint as kind of an individual instances. That's a cool thing, functionality which a lot of people have been asking. SPFx powered SharePoint hosted apps in the pipeline as well, and then the Copilot integration scenarios. If you go to the following slide, there is kind of a teaser, but these are real pictures or real enough pictures. This is how it actually will look like. You are able to expose SharePoint Framework powered ACEs directly in Copilot. So you can imagine that you're having a chat with a Copilot in MChat or the BizChat or whatever we call these things run out after this week. Anywhere within the thing, you're basically saying, hey, BizChat or Copilot, I would like to actually think about of taking some time off next week. Can you help me to find the right location? You're not only getting a link to the location where you can request the time off, you will get a card if it has been enabled within the tenant, where you can then do the actual operation and in the right way. So really making SPFx also available through the Copilot, which is really, really cool capability for sure. A lot of excitement on that one also internally. But more details on this one, we're looking into doing public preview on this one as a phase 1 in Ignite. That's coming in November, and then additional functionalities later on. But not also forgetting about SharePoint or Teams or Viva as we move along within this journey. But that's a quick update from the engineering side. Let's move into the individual projects. I think we have Julie next on the queue. Oh, Copilot prompts. I was wrong.
Yep. How dare you? How dare you? So we want to talk about our Copilot prompts. So check these out, right? So this is a fairly new set of samples where we're sharing all different stuff you can use with Copilot and how you can do that. This is a great and fairly easy way to contribute, right? So if you've got a cool prompt you're using, or if you come up with something that you find really helpful, please share that with us. We would love that. And in fact, you might even be featured as our prompt of the week. All right. So here is the prompt of the week. Right, if you want to check this one out, it's very cool about party planning, right, and some ideas there around how you might get together with your recipes and so on. So it's a really interesting use case, right, a little more different than what you might expect Copilot to be able to do, but it's a nice way to do that stuff that you do. Great, perfect. Julie, you got some stuff on the PNP.js?
Woo! Today is a day, huh, guys? All right, 4.5.0 got released on Monday. No wowies. No wowies. Got released on Monday. Documentation and package versioning updates only. So no updates, no enhancements, no bug fixes. We don't have any bugs. We're perfect. No, not really. But no currently found bugs, so just a minor update. We did, however, get the improved alias parameter parsing fix deployed for version 3. So 3.26 dropped also on Monday, and that will be our last version for version 3. So please do update to version 4. It's not, I mean, there are some breaking changes, but they're not significant, and there are some serious improvements that you will want to take advantage of, like async iterators for paging big lists. That's a very handy new feature in V4, so check it out. If there are enhancements made and you would like to test them ahead of time, don't forget about our nightly builds. You can install them by installing at pnp/sp or graph or whatever it is at V4 Nightly, and that will give you the latest nightly build, which would include any packages or pull requests that were merged the previous day. So check that out, and then follow us on LinkedIn on the Microsoft 365 platform community page for all our updates. All right, back to you, Chris Kent.
That sounded like plenty of wowies to me, but you know. All right, Gary, you're up.
Thanks, Chris. So we have a new release of CLI for Microsoft 365, a new beta release. So this is version 9.1. So we have new commands for files, so improved movement of files. We're using the graph internally to do this. But we've got new commands for Power Automate for listing and restoring some of the flows that you might have just deleted before they completely get removed. For SharePoint Online, we've got new commands around managing sharing links on folders and managing users from the site collection admin group. SharePoint Premium as well, so you can now get the URLs of the content centers, and in Microsoft Teams you can download meeting transcripts of specific meetings. Now just to remind everyone that we've just moved to V9, and there's a big change around authenticating to your M365 tenant with the CLI. So you now need the single tenant app registration. If you've got Azure CLI installed, you can use the M365 setup command, and we'll use Azure CLI to create that for you. So you don't have to go through and manually create that. If you want to try out the latest beta, you can get that from NPM and from Docker by just using the @beta tag. If you want to look through all of the release notes, bug fixes, other improvements, go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/notes to get all the details in there. If you want to know more about the CLI, you've got questions, maybe having an issue, then the best place to ask your questions is in our Discord server. So it's open to everyone. So if you go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/Discord, you will find our invite link, and you'll be able to join the server, and I'm sure you'll get a great welcome. Chris, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so we have a new beta release of DevProxy. If you don't know what DevProxy is, if you're working with APIs and you want to simulate errors, you want to simulate different behaviors like throttling, or maybe you just want to mock some API responses for developing and testing, then DevProxy is the tool for you. In the next version, which we're going to release early in October, which will be our 0.21 release, we've added a new feature that enables you to simulate access key and easy auth authentication locally. So if you're using Azure Functions and maybe you're turning on easy auth, but you want to have that experience locally when you're developing, you can now use DevProxy to help you do that. And it's not just Azure Functions as well. If you're using other APIs, you'll also be able to use it for that use case as well. We've also got some nice updates to the DevProxy toolkit, which is our VS Code extension. In the last release, we provided an API that runs that allows you to remote control a DevProxy instance. So we can now provide easier access to starting, stopping, DevProxy recording, sending webhook requests as well from the toolkit. So there's going to be a lot of improvements coming to the extension, which is going to make it really easy for you to use DevProxy going forwards right from VS Code. With that, Chris, back to you.
Wowee. Wowee. All right, we're going to talk about these reusable SPFx controls, right? So there was a new release in August, so be sure to check some of that out with the SPFx 1.19 support. I suppose there'll be another release fairly soon, since it sounds like 120 is on the way. Wow! So if you haven't checked these out, please do. They are a great way to get started with all sorts of functionality for your SharePoint Framework projects. Highly recommend starting with these. That way you can focus on the logic you're trying to do rather than silly UI stuff. All right, Adam, are you around?
Yeah, yes, I am, if you hear me. So, hi everybody. So we just had a new major release, V4, and this release was done specifically to address the recent changes done to the in the PNP management shell. So now the default login experience actually changed, and I'm just posting a movie that goes into detail the same kind of way like in CLI, how the new login experience is working now. Basically, now you have to do it over your own app registration where you will be the owner, and it will have the trimmed permissions only that are needed for this toolkit, so a lot more secure way. And you can either create it by your own manually, or this toolkit can create one for you automatically, and check it out for sure. So it's really easy, and the movie shows how it goes, but basically everything is in this picture. And together with this major release, we also had additional improvements and more guidance how to get started with SPFx in general. So we're getting more and more knowledge in how to get around SharePoint Framework, get into SharePoint Framework development. New way to filter the in sample gallery by extension type if you are interested in only in SPFx extensions, and new settings in this VS Code that now allow you to define a bit more, work a bit on your view when it comes to the tenant view and account view. Now you can, for example, hide the health incidents list if it's produced too much noise for you, or hide the tenant whitelist if it also is something you're not interested in. Okay, be sure to give it a try if you are doing any kind of SharePoint Framework development, because it's the best toolkit that will help you to get started, manage, develop everything around SPFx, and maybe more in the future. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Wowie. Happy coding. Back to you, Chris.
Wowie.
Yeah, I have to work on my wowies. Sorry for that.
That was so formal.
I am at work still, yeah. Okay, doesn't matter.
Casper, can you give us an update on modern search?
Yeah, absolutely. We have updated some of the documentation a couple of weeks back, and I would like to highlight the one that you see on the screen right now, because there's been an uptake on the use of Microsoft search for the search experience that you see in PNP Modern Search. And we've seen some issues there because there's apparently some issues with the API. So as we put it here, if we are using Microsoft Search, please use it for external items, because that's the only way you can get to those. Otherwise, we suggest that you stick with SharePoint Search for now. And we will come up with more updated documentation and samples using Microsoft Search when we have ironed out the issues that we have. So that's just a piece of advice. And then I would like to highlight one of the options that we have that was provided to us by Joe Blumer, who is out of Austria. And he made an awful lot of very good additions to our project. So give him a hand and buy him a beer when you see him. And back to you, Chris.
Wowie.
Wowie. You go wow us now.
Hi, everyone. Did you know that we have a lot of amazing people in the community who are building sample web parts and extensions for you to be able to use to learn about how they built these samples? You can actually customize them and use them in your own instances as well. So these are the latest updates that are coming soon to a repository near you. The first one is an update to the page navigator, which now makes it available to work with in a container by Raphael Buhi. We also have a new enhanced button by Eric Benawan. The enhanced button, if you've ever used the out-of-the-box SPFx button web part, this one takes it to a whole new level. It adds all sorts of new customization features and extensions. It's brilliant. I hope to see it on a demo soon enough. We also have the employee onboarding web part that allows you to create a checklist of things that people should do when they come in to the organization, training and things like that. And that's by Ijaz. We have an update to the service health for Microsoft 365, where we've upgraded the SPFx version and we've fixed the bug, and that was by Harminder. The Graph Calendar by OG Canvas now is upgraded again to newer version, and you can now see calendars from other groups. And finally, the Rhythm of Business Calendar by MRI Gango, which has been updated as well. Now we welcome everyone to contribute to these sample repositories. If you have something cool to share, please share it with us, because there's always someone who's getting started with SPFx and always someone who wants to learn. We want these repositories to be your first step when you start building a new SPFx solution, and we want to help each other. So thanks to everyone, and back to you, Chris. Wowie.
All right. Wowie. All right. So there's also a repository of ACEs for SharePoint Framework, and there you go. Check those out.
yeah, but hey, no, we got 2 new ones though, right? So I mean, after all, Chris, we're in Vegas. Hugo and I are in Vegas for the Power Platform, so it's appropriate that we've got a winning hand with a pair of aces, right? So we've got the chart card files by content type that shows pie charts. So if you're hungry, it's a great way to start there, as Hugo said, with libraries by content type. So that's very, very cool. It just shows the percentage of the content type usage within your document library, which is super, super cool. And then we've got a React Quick View ACE that shows a list of frequently asked questions. And what's cool about that is you can configure it in your properties. So it's a one-stop shop right there and then. So check it out, everybody. Like we said, it's a winning hand. Use them both at the same time even. So Chris, back to you. Who's going to just flip it back to me for what time is it?
David, were you workshopping that intro all morning?
All morning. I've been up all night, to be honest with you. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. Wow, my face is doing something crazy here. All right, so let me share my screen, Chris. And where did Teams go? Let's go here. Come on. It opens. All right, there we go. Excellent. Starting to see everybody. Looking not bad. We're getting conference Wi-Fi going on, which is not the best, but all right. We see Nicole. She's doing some dancing. All right. There's Derek. Yeah, everybody's getting into it. We got the cat from Natalie. Okay. Just another couple seconds. If everybody wants to get in, there's digital seats available. I'm not even sure what Chris is doing with his mouth. That's what nightmares are made of. And now he's just gone. See? Wowee! All right, let's do the countdown, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Way! Woo! Looking fantastic. Great to see everybody. Thank you all for everything you do. Excellent stuff. Great stuff. Woo. All right. Yeah, Bill's dancing. Look at that. Great. All right. Chris, back to you.
Ooh. Well, and back to me for just a moment, because now it is time for some demos. So, Nello, Nicole, if you're ready, feel free to take over the screen whenever you've got it. Take a look.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you. So, hi, my name is Nicole, and I work in corporate communications at La Mobilière. I'm responsible for our intranet, and I'm also the product owner for the development of our intranet solution.
Hello, my name is Nello D'Andrea. Call me just Nello. I work as a developer since 35 years and 15 years in the SharePoint field. And I'm passionate about SharePoint Online and SPFx. Back to you, Nicole.
Thank you. We work for La Mobilière, the oldest insurance company in Switzerland, with 6,400 employees and 80 general agencies. We insure every third household and every third company in Switzerland. In our IT department, some 600 specialists ensure the smooth running of our systems and modernize our core IT systems. We also developed our intranet internally with our Scrum team 2 years ago. One of our colleagues' favorite solution we will show you today to personalized user apps. We had following challenge. Our employees don't have time to waste. How can they quickly find and open the application they need whenever, and in their preferred language. We had 3 main objectives. Firstly, our employees should be able to access their relevant apps from anywhere on the Intranet, anytime, and in their preferred language. Second, each colleague can choose and arrange their apps however they like. Last but not least, our corporate publishing team can easily maintain the app list, whether it's adding a new app, updating an existing one, or removing an old one. We are happy with the great solution that Nello has implemented for us. He is now showing us how it works, how to use it, and how he has developed it.
So the implementation of the user app is done with 2 SPFx solution and 2 SharePoint lists. The first SPFx solution is an application customizer that hooks the menu widget in the SharePoint Online header. We use a technique with JavaScript Observer to ensure that the menu widget is always available in the SharePoint header. The SharePoint header changes when you scroll down, becoming more compact. This happens when the SharePoint app inject new HTML elements into your DOM. The menu widget renders as a button. When you click it, you see a list of your pinned app and a link to the app management page. This is where our second solution, the web part, comes into play. The web part is the UI that user use to search, pin, or unpin an app. When I pin an app, it becomes available in my widget and vice versa. I can also reorder my pinned app to have them in my preferred order. The solution uses 2 lists. The first one, all apps, define the set of apps available in your corporate environment. It has built-in multilingual support and allows you to define a default language. The second list is managed entirely by the web part, where user app preferences are saved. We also use a SharePoint index to support more than 5,000 users. So if you have a large organization, then it will also work. So now let's share my screen and I will do a quick demo. Hope you see it. Okay, so we are here on the site where the customizer has already been pre-installed. So I see here the widget, can click on it and it opens a little menu. And when I scroll down, you can see that the SharePoint header get compact, and with this technique, JavaScript Observer, then we monitor the DOM and we inject the widget another time. So it works very well. I can scroll back up and then I see my other widget, which is already have been injected. I see here a list of my pinned app. I just have one here, and when I click on this link, then I go to the management page, which have already the web part pre-installed. So the web part is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the search box. This one is the My Application part or component, and the last one, all the application which have not been pinned. It's also the structure of the project with 3 React components. So when I pin an app, it will come under My Application, and we have a little animation which showcases this. I can also unpin an app, then it comes down, and I can, for example, just pin all the apps. I have to reload the page, and then I will see all the apps here. So that's already the all magic of this. I can now show shortly the list. It's straightforward. We can define a sort order, a title, a description, a link. This is where the user will navigate, and also language. We should always have a default language for an entry, and then you can define an app ID, Here it's a number, but you can also define whatever you want, and you can also mix different language. Here we see we have different language for the same app ID. Now I switch to the code. I will first start with the application customizer. And here we see a method which activates this shy observer. If I go to the method, I have to jump at the end. And we are here observing a div element with a class starting with arrow. So every time something is added or updated in this tree, HTML tree, then we get here control, and we can look at a class which starts with shy header, which is injected by the SharePoint app. And then we check if this class exists. We check if our element, which is injected also as a div with the name user apps shy. We check if this element is present. If it's not present, then we inject our menu widget, and we also disconnect the observer. That's the whole magic, and the other observer works like this one. Now I will go to the web part, and the web part, we can see the three different components: search, user app, and all app. These are the same component which you have seen in the UI, and the whole component are under state management. That's how it works, so that the component get notified if something changed. For example, if the user searches for the text, then an action is dispatched. The state is updated by the reducer, and the user app and the all apps component get notified. Now, for example, if a user clicked in the all apps for pinning an app, then we can look at this. I will use this method on pin click, and this method first removed the item from the all app. This is the bottom part of the UI. Then it adds this item in the my app. It's the upper part of the item. And then we have here a little trick, because we want a smooth transition with all this animation. So basically in this component, we control how the CSS animation is done in the other control. So these are the two flags which we use, and they are used to control which kind of style are here. For example, you see here, we just put this style if style and pin animation, and so if we need them. So that's all. Thank you, Nicole. Back to you.
Thank you, Nello. So if you really like this solution, you can surely download it on our GitHub. If you want to read more, just go to our blog post on Punto Bello. And if you have any questions, you can connect with us on LinkedIn or on GitHub. So thank you for your attention. Even if you have any questions now, let us know.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great job. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Marcin. So if you're ready, go ahead and feel free to share your screen.
Of course I am. Hello, hello. Let me try to share something beautiful. And I will go bold. I will go share my whole screen. So have fun.
Wowee!
Exactly, exactly. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, yes, lovely. So first order of business, I'm not sure how you pronounce Vite. I just go with Vite because it sounds good, but I do have that, weird feeling it's not exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced. Nevertheless, I will go this way, Vite. Topic of today's presentation demo is how we can make our apps faster, better, harder, stronger with the lovely, lovely marriage of Vite and SPFx, and we'll bind that with Rushstack because it's extremely, extremely useful. Quick recap. Oh, wait. Who am I? My name is Marcin. I'm working as a competency center leader in Avenga. You can find me on LinkedIn. I blog from time to time. Here is the link, my GitHub, my profile on Twitter or X. Sorry. And once again, shout out to Brian, who actually reached out to me. He found my repo somewhere on my repository, and he convinced me to actually give this lovely presentation. So Brian, shout out to you. Thank you very much. Having said that, quick recap, because last time we've seen each other, it was 2 weeks ago. Quite many hours, I would say. So what was the statement and the problem that I identified? SPFx is absolutely amazing, bunkers. It has only few small issues. First of all, build time. If we have a build time of few minutes, as you can see on the attached screenshot, it can be troublesome to keep that nice, crisp, fast feedback loop for the development. You want to change something, see the change, it works, yes, no, maybe. You want that to be fast. This is why, unfortunately, SharePoint Framework falls a bit short. Next thing is reusability. Usually, when we do SPFx, we rely very heavily on this.context.sphttp client, or on service scope. So we rely very, very heavily on objects provided by SPFx. Great that it's provided. I'm not the biggest fan of relying on it too heavily, because it's difficult to get your solution out of SPFx and put it somewhere else if it's needed. So reusability, SPF context, service scope, and finally testability. If you know me, I believe there are only 2 solutions to every issue with IT project. Either you have to improve communication or you have to write unit tests. There is nothing else that can go wrong with IT project, according to me, communication or unit testing. Strong statement, I know. However, if you ever tried writing unit tests for solutions in SPFx, it is quite troublesome. It took me a while to understand the whole stack, to actually be able to mock and write some unit tests. And yet, as I mentioned before, I believe it's extremely, extremely useful. So what's the solution? The solution is following. We create simple app with Vite, because now it's the next big, great thing, better than React Create App or whatever else. And this is correct. If you ever worked with Vite before, the feedback loop is extremely fast. The hot reload is absolutely amazing. Great developer experience all the way through. On top of that, when you are building just Vite app or the React app with Vite, you can ask just about Vite stuff, not exactly SPFX related stuff. So it's easier to find solutions to the problem you are having. Next thing is you have full control over interfaces that you depend on in your application. It is a very good approach to be prepared for whatever SharePoint Framework will provide us with our interfaces, but we can be a little bit more abstract. This is very good. In my opinion, it's especially nice with HTTP client, because I'm sick and tired of always using SPHTTP client.configuration.v1. I don't like typing that very much. By the way, because I see I have quite some time, if you would have any questions, don't hesitate to put it in chat. I will answer it, or at least I will try. So that's it. That's a quick recap. And I promised you today we will go deep into the details, how we can actually do this and how we can accomplish this lovely, lovely thing. So without any further ado, demo time. And let's start with our Vite project. And as you can see here is very simple React app. Now the crucial thing to prepare it for being able to import that to SPFx is to understand what we actually have to abstract around. And two, or actually the first most important part that SPFx is providing us is authentication, in particular authentication to SharePoint, authentication to Graph, and that lovely thing which is AAD HTTP client provider, which can give us a pre-authenticated client to provided resource. So the authentication and single sign-on in SharePoint is critical. So as you can see, I start by defining authentication context provider. Jean, very familiar, lovely. Yes, so we are starting with authentication context. And we will, in our simple React app, we will use MSAL authentication service to actually authenticate to our tenant with our client ID. What authentication context actually provides is that lovely global hook, which is use authentication. Use authentication will provide us with authentication provider. This is important thing. You can see it's get access token by resource, and this is very similar to what token provider in SPFx provides us with. It's the same signature, the AAD authentication token provider in SharePoint Framework has the same signature. This is not by mistake, not by accident. We want to keep the signature very similar. Thanks to this, everywhere within our application, let's go back here, everywhere here, we can actually use our authentication provider to authenticate to different resources. Bear in mind, at this point, we are using just MSAL to authentication, so it's our own app. And now if you want to extend it, for example, with that new lovely nested authentication flow, it's quite easy to adapt. You don't have to change anything else but our authentication service. Lovely idea. So we change our the way we authenticate from standard MSAL code flow to nested app authentication, and it's only changed in the dependency of authentication context provider. Let's jump a little bit deeper because we are interested, for example, in how we will connect to Graph. And our Graph context provider, which also exposes use Graph hook, just creates here I'm using batch graph HTTP client, but it's using authentication provider from our use authentication hook. Similar we will do with Dataverse context because our sample will evolve around Dataverse. We are using the same authentication provider. We are just creating new authenticated client for Dataverse based on our Dataverse resource. If you are not familiar with consuming Dataverse API from anywhere, you are just registering your Entra ID app. You are saying that you want to consume dynamic CRM, and in your make powerapps.com, you are finding the environment URI. You are using that as your resource URI right here. So thanks to that, we are effectively authenticated to Dataverse from our custom app. And you may ask, Marcin, sounds good. How does it look like? Let me show you. This is how it looks like. And you know what you would say, Marcin, it's not pretty. Not the point. I'm not a designer. I'm not very good at making things pretty, except my ego. But the bottom line is we do have our integration with Dataverse. We are actually, maybe I can even show you the network tab. We will refresh some things. You can see the authentication is executed. We are calling Dataverse API to get who am I. That's my user ID, lovely. And now I'm filtering tasks right here in my from the tasks table, tasks assigned to me. Lovely. Very nice. We can do that because I registered the specific application in Entra ID, and I consented in my development tenant to that application so it can consume that particular resource. Any questions regarding this part? Lovely. So now let's ask ourselves, Marcin, this is very good, this is very nice, the development is fast, because let's say I would like to change very quickly database stars. Oh, that's not it, sorry. Right here, we would like to change something about how it looks like. For example, our task list should have bigger gap. It's done. It is relatively fast. Oh, pardon. Having said that, we can see that the hot reload really helps quite a bit. Also, as I mentioned before, it also simplifies testing a little bit, because if you want to write unit tests, you don't have to worry about mocking SharePoint related content or SharePoint related dependencies. Thanks to this, you can have some lovely, lovely unit tests like here. I will not go too deep into unit testing. I just hope you will try it, have fun. Exactly, very nice. But now how we can put this simple small app and put it in SPFx. So in theory, you can prepare your own library, build, if you have very deep knowledge in the whole node stack and you understand the bundles, all of that magic, feel free to go and do it yourself. I'm choosing a bit of a shortcut, because Microsoft already prepared something absolutely amazing, which is the gulp file for building SharePoint SPFx projects. And what I'm doing here is I'm effectively installing as a dependency at Microsoft SP Build Web, and I'm running gulp build using that particular task. Thanks to this, I know that whatever will be the format or the output of my build, it will be the same format as Microsoft expects in SPFx. In our case, as you can see, it built me lovely, lovely thing, and it's in the same format as SPFx expects it. Now I'm just trying npm link, and thanks to that, in my local npm repository, I will have this package available. Now let's switch to our SPFx project. Simple SPFx project, and let's start with our entry point, which is Dataverse web part or Dataverse tasks web part. Here I hard-coded the Dataverse URI because the amount of weird and different places you would prefer this to be stored is too much for me to handle. So I went for the simplest thing. I'm sorry. Hope you will know how to update it to your needs on where to put it in your configuration stack. But what we are doing here on init, we are defining our token provider. As I mentioned before, we are getting our token provider for IAD token provider factor, which is provided by context. This token provider has effectively, as you can see, the same signature as the interface we defined in our root project. Thanks to that, when we are creating our authentication context provider, we are actually providing the token provider from SPFx context. Thanks to that, we are getting that single sign-on, we are getting that lovely, lovely authentication mechanism directly from Microsoft in this case. Once we create authentication context, we're also creating graph context and our Dataverse context. Once we have all of these, we are actually, as with every other other web part, just rendering the context provider, which, as you can see, cascades down with children to our element, which is Dataverse tasks. If you go to definition, you can see we have that tasks list from our linked library. I mean NPM linked library. If we go here, hit F12, you can see it's actually pointing to my local NPM repository, which you can play around with using NPM link. Of course, you can also publish your package to npm.js. Have fun. You can publish it to your private artifacts in your Azure DevOps. Also very valid point. And as you can see, I'm just consuming the tasks list from my library in my SPFx project. You may say, does it actually work? Yes, because as you can see, running my debug mode, I have the same list, I have the same experience I'm having right here. Or maybe I will zoom in here as well. The only difference is actually in authentication. Because, and maybe we can also show it right here, if we will refresh, we get the client component. And as you can see, there is no this authentication query because it's already somewhere cached by Microsoft SPFx framework. We are just getting, where was it? Or maybe that's this token of the Microsoft. I don't care, I don't have to care because Microsoft is doing that for me. The important thing is that I'm also calling that whoami endpoint and that tasks endpoint the same way I'm calling that with a simple Vite app. Does it make sense? Yes, no. No one knows.
Yes.
It does. Lovely. Great. So why I would suggest you to go out and try this approach. First of all, at least in my experience, very often web parts we are building grow to a whole application on their own, especially if we are somehow touching not only SharePoint lists or the SharePoint document library, but also something in Graph, something in Dataverse. It grows quite big, and at some point, someone asks us, you know what, actually, can we, for example, put it in a separate app or make it a mobile app? And with that approach, it's relatively simple because we're just publishing this one to static web app. We are configuring it to be progressive web app, and you have separate app and mobile app for free. Quite nice. Let's say Microsoft will introduce new way of hosting web parts, or maybe new type of extensibility. Like now we have web parts, we have ACEs, we have application extensions. If anything new pops up, we can also import all our app and adjust it to our new entry point. You want a new dedicated Teams personal app. Now with nested app authentication, you can also publish this, use nested app authentication, and have single sign-on with your nested app authentication for your Teams personal app. Very nice. It will perform significantly better than doing that through Teams login page. And I believe that will be it. I hope I made my point. Have some fun. And I hope you will enjoy it as much as I am. On that note, if there are any questions, no. Have fun, keep coding, go mad. See you soon.
All right. Awesome.
Wowee.
Wowee. Lovely stuff. There you go. Thank you very much, Marcin. It was really good. Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to post them in chat. That'll be around for a while. But otherwise, if you have input about the call specifically, so not necessarily the individual demos, but if you have feedback about the calls, about how we do some of those intro sections, maybe about how we're stringing this together, how we're publishing, anything we're doing, whether it's the calls or even just PNP in general, please fill this out. We would love to hear about it. We do accept compliments as well as critiques, so feel free. All right. And then, of course, we want to invite you to join our Discord server, so you may continue these conversations there. So if you've enjoyed some of the ability to chat here, the Discord offers that service at all times, not just during the call. So if you come over here, you can check it out. We've got 2,200 plus members. That's a lot of people that can help you answer some questions. If you've got questions on how to do things just in general in 365, or if you got questions on how to use some of this tooling, that's a great spot to ask that, as well as some of the other areas as well. So there we go. Thank you very, very much. This recording will be posted to YouTube within 24 hours, so please check that. Don't click the link in the chat, as it won't work. But that's it. Be sure to join us for our next call on October 3rd, and we'll talk to you later. Wow!
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The worst part of the car. I mean best.